Welcome to our basic video game design tutorial. Today we will learn to create planets and stars. We will create the Sun, Earth, and Moon, and rotate them around their axis, as well as their parent object. We will also work with camera and lighting. We will also do some C# coding required to rotate these objects. We will create this simulation in Unity 3D. So let's start our today's tutorial. Click on the New Project button to create a new project. There are various types of projects, some of which may need to be downloaded from Unity servers. We will use a blank 3D project. Select the project type, and then enter the name of your project in this field. We will create Sun, Earth, and Moon, therefore we will choose the same as project name. After entering the project name, click on the Create Project button to create the project. Depending on the performance of your computer, it may take some time to create the project on your hard disk. Once the project is created, you will be taken to the Unity design window, where you will work with objects and codes to create a video game or animation. Objects include all 2D or 3D objects like trees, cars, terrain, etc. Camera is also a game object. To create a star or a planet, we can go to the Game Object menu, and from 3D Objects, select a sphere. A sphere is a 3D ball, which closely resembles stars and planets. We use mouse wheel to zoom in and out on game objects in Unity. To change this ball into sun, we need texture. We can search Internet for a texture. Go to your web browser and search for sun texture in a search engine such as Google. You will find a lot of textures on the Internet. Select one of them and download it to your computer. This website has all solar system textures, so let's try this one. Scroll through the list of textures and look for sun texture. Let's download the ultra resolution texture, although the other one is equally useful at this stage. This is a simple image file, which we can download to our computer. Keep in mind that not all textures are free for use. We are only using one for tutorial, but for commercial use, you need appropriate license or permission to use textures and other stuff. Right-click on the image, and click on the Save menu item, to save the image in your computer. Most probably it is saved in the Downloads folder, from where you can move it into your Unity project by simply using drag and drop. Now this texture will convert this 3D ball into our sun. To do that, simply drag this image and drop it onto the 3D ball. And now our ball looks like our sun. We can zoom in and out and move around our 3D objects to view them from all directions and positions. Let's change the name of this sphere to Sun. We have created the sun, but it is stationary. To rotate the sun, we need some programming. Right-click here, and from Create menu item, select C# script to create a C# script file. Rename this file to Rotate Game Object, and wait for your project to apply changes. Now, open this file in a code editor. I am using Visual Studio Code. And in the update event here, add a transform.rotate function. Inside this function, add x, y, and z values. For now let's set these values to 1. We can use character F to convert these numbers into float data type. Now save the file, and go back to the unit editor. You can see that the file has been updated here as well. Can you guess what this code will do? If we link this code file to any 3D object, the 3D object will start rotating at our defined speed. Just like texture, link this file to our sun sphere, and let's see what it does. This is it. Now let's go to the game mode. Now click on the play button to run the game. And as you can see, the sun is now rotating. However, we cannot control or change the speed of its rotation. We can use the position properties to change the position of camera and see the object more closely. It looks great, but we need to make changes to our code so that we could change speed at runtime as well. Stop the game now and go back to the script file. Define 3 variables named x, y, and z of data type float. You can use the equal sign to set their default values. Now replace the fixed values in the rotate function with these 3 variables. Save the file and go to the Unity editor. Now, when you run the game, the sun will rotate with the default speed set using the variables. We can set these variables public to access them from the inspector window and set their values at runtime. Save the file and go back to the Unity editor. Now we have x, y, and z here in the inspector where we can change their values at any time. Let's change their values at runtime and see what happens. If we change their values at design time, that value becomes their default value. But since we are changing these in runtime, they will reset to 0.1 when we will stop the game. We can make some other changes, such as remove skybox from camera. Skybox is the blue and gray background, which we can change to a solid black. Now it will appear as if the sun is rotating in space, which is pitch black. We can also set the camera closer to the sun, to view it more closely. We can use these position settings to move the camera around and set its position. This looks better. Now, let's run the game and see how it looks like. It looks pretty now. Now add an empty object inside the sun and rename it to EarthMoon. This empty object will rotate around the sun, just like Earth rotates around the sun. This is the tricky part, because the empty object is invisible, and you cannot visualize it correctly. So we will add a sphere to it at a close proximity to sun. So let's add a sphere to the EarthMoon empty object. Change the position of sphere and place it a little farther from sun. You can use the position arrows called Move tools to change the position of a 3D object. Reduce the size of this sphere as well, using scale properties. Let's move camera farther to capture both spheres. Now, let's rotate the EarthMoon object around the sun and see what happens. Let's attach the Rotate Game object script to the EarthMoon object and see how it works. Change the value of y and z to 0, keeping only x rotation. Run the game and see how it works. The sphere is not rotating around the Sun as expected, and that is because we made the Earth-Moon object child of Sun object, and Sun's rotation is also being applied on the Earth-Moon object. The solution is to make the Earth-Moon object independent of the Sun. To do that, we will create another empty object, and name it Solar System. Both Sun and the Earth-Moon objects will be the child objects of the Solar System. Now let's run the game again and see what happens. Now the problem is resolved, but the rotation on y-axis looks better than the x-axis. So we will set the value of x to 0, and the value of y to 0.1. And now the rotation is exactly how we want it to be. We can convert this other sphere into Earth, in the same way we created the Sun. To do that, we will create another empty object, and name it Solar System. Both Sun and the Earth-Moon objects will be the child objects of the Solar System. Now let's run the game again and see what happens. Now the problem is resolved, but the rotation on y-axis looks better than the x-axis. So we will set the value of x to 0, and the value of y to 0.1. And now the rotation is exactly how we want it to be. We can convert this other sphere into Earth, in the same way we created the Sun. To convert this sphere into Earth, we will download the Earth texture, from the same website we downloaded the Sun texture. Save this file on your computer. After downloading the file, copy the file to your Unity project. Go to your scene window, and drag the texture over the sphere, to change it into the Earth. Now let's run the game. Earth is rotating around the Sun now, but it is not rotating around its own axis. To rotate the Earth around its axis is simple. We just need to attach the same rotate game object script to the Earth sphere too. Now run the game to see the changes. And as you can see, now Earth is rotating around the Sun, as well as its own axis. Another thing that we can change here is to correct the lighting. Light is not quite correct. Sun should emit light, and there should be day-night effect on Earth. By default, we have a directional light, to which we can make changes as per our requirement. First we will change its position to 0, which is the position of Sun. Then we will change the light type to point, and change its range to only cover the Earth. (1.5) seems to be an appropriate range. We can change the value of intensity, to make more realistic day-night affect. Let's set the light intensity to 5. Now we can run the game, and see how it looks like. And as you can see, it looks much better now. Before moving further, let's reduce the speed of this simulation. Change all the values of x, y, and z in Rotate Game Object script to 0.01. This looks much pleasant now. Now, we can also add clouds to our Earth, which currently has no atmosphere. Inside the Earth sphere, we can create another sphere named clouds. Make this sphere slightly bigger than the Earth sphere. The Earth should be hidden inside this sphere for now. Now go to the same website again, and download the cloud textures from there. This is not a transparent image. Save this file to your computer. One way of making this image transparent is through PowerPoint. Copy this file, and paste this file in the PowerPoint slide. Now, set the black color as transparent using the color menu. Set the transparency to 50%. Also make the edges soft using the picture effects. Save this picture as PNG file. Now, copy this file to your Unity project. Apply this texture to the cloud sphere. Change the render mode to transparent. That's it, now you have clouds around your Earth, which create a feeling of atmosphere. Link the rotate game object script to this sphere as well, to rotate the clouds around the Earth. And make their speed slow as well. Earth looks much better and realistic now. You can also change the speed of clouds, even reverse their rotation by changing a value to negative. Much better now. Now we have a simulation of Earth rotating around the Sun. Inside the EarthMoon object, create another empty object named Moon Orbit. This will rotate Moon around Earth, just as the Earth is rotating around the Sun. Position the Moon Orbit object exactly where Earth is located. Create a 3D sphere inside the Moon orbit. We'll call this sphere Moon. Make this sphere smaller than the Earth. Place the Moon sphere next to the Earth sphere, using the Move tools. We can move Earth-Moon object, which contains both Earth and the Moon, farther from the Sun. Now we need to move the camera as well, to include all spheres in the view. Attach the Rotate Game object script to the Moon orbit as well, and rotate the Moon around the Earth on Y-axis only. The system will look like this. In a real simulation, you can use realistic speed, size, and distance. To make the moon sphere look like the moon, we will use the moon texture. Download the moon texture and place it on your computer. Save the file to your computer. Move the texture to your project in Unity. Zoom in on the moon sphere to see it more clearly. Now, apply this texture to the moon sphere to make it look like our moon. Since we moved Earth and Moon farther from the Sun, we need to adjust the light accordingly. The range and intensity of light is not enough to create day-night and eclipse effects. Increase the light intensity. Also increase the light range to include Earth and Moon into its range. Now it looks much better. We do not need to rotate Moon around its axis, because Moon is tidal locked to the Earth. With this we end our tutorial, and as I told earlier, while building a proper simulation, you must use realistic sizes, distances, speeds, and rotation. This was just for learning purposes. Thanks for watching. We hope you liked our tutorial. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more insightful tutorials and updates.